You want to give us some perspective on what's going on in the city right now in regard to this law that's going to expire in 4 days?
Well, I'm going to try to do that and try to be as precise as possible. In 1969, a bill called the Decentralization Bill was passed by the state legislature that created 32 independent school boards and created elected board persons throughout the city. In other words, New York City was almost functioning the way that the schools function in the suburban districts with elected boards, and the boards could make the decisions, some decisions about how the schools were run.
What preceded that? Why did the legislature just decide to give the people a little?
No. Before that, it was a centralized system that was decided by the, that was run by the superintendent of schools. And then you remember there was a period of about 12 years in which there was tremendous amounts of demonstrations, boycotts, and other forms of protest. And as a result, it led to a confrontation known as the Ocean Hill-Brownsville confrontation. And after that confrontation, the state legislature made the decision to go to a decentralized system in which they created the 32 school boards and the elected board persons, and the boards were allowed to make some decisions, not a lot, but some decisions about how the schools were going to rerun and how and who was going to be hired in the schools. So that decentralized system lasted from 1969 to 2001. And then with the election of Michael Bloomberg and his request that the schools be under his control, in 2002 was instituted a new form of governance by the state legislature again, called mayoral control of schools. This form of governance was to last for 8 years approximately and was to sunset on June 30th, 2009. So for the last 8 years, Mr. Bloomberg has been in charge of the school system of New York City. It is no longer known as the Board of Education. It's now known as the Department of Education. It is governed by Mr. Bloomberg, and he named Joe Klein as his chief officer or chancellor of the school system. And those two figures have run the school system for the past 8 years. That's how it stands now until this year it comes up for a vote by the state legislature to either change it or to continue it as they wish it to be continued.
Now, what's your assessment of the impact it's been on the city? Not so much on the city in general, but on the communities in particular, of having the mayor control the schools as opposed to community school boards?
Well, my assessment of that impact is that it has been a disaster. It has removed the schools from any contact with the communities. It has given the mayor control over all aspects of the school system, from the diet all the way to the testing and the books and all aspects of the system, the hiring and firing of personnel, all those things that were formerly decided upon by the community boards now is decided upon at City Hall and the Tweed building, which is the home of the Department of Education. So in a governmental sense, it appears almost as if it's a dictatorship, and no one has a right to give any advice or give any kind of opinions, and it is a sort of hand-me-down kind of education. And after a period in which we have come out of colonialism, we've come out of that type of government worldwide, and people have recognized the need for individuals to be involved in the decision-making process. This particular school system is taking a step backward in the opposite direction.
Well, I don't think there are a whole lot of people upset about it. I think the city is in a kind of a lull right now. Mm-hmm. I think, I don't really know how to describe people's reactions right now. Mm-hmm. Many people think everything is fine. Mm. There was a testing system, not a testing system, a comparison system mm-hmm. that was set up a few years ago that cost many, many millions of dollars, where schools were rated A, B, C, D, E, F, and all that. I'm not going to go into my assessment of that joke, but a lot of people were very impressed with it, mm-hmm. and a lot of people seem to feel that we've made tremendous progress. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are very impressed with Joel Klein, mm-hmm. the businessman. Mm-hmm. A lot of people are impressed with the Tweed courthouse. Well, and parents are not on the move as mm-hmm. they were years ago, as the era that you're talking about. Mm-hmm. And I have to tell you that it appears that all's quiet on the Western Front. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, to me, that's the tragedy of it all. That's the tragedy of it all, is that we have come now to a generation of parents, a generation of people who are sending their children to school, who are content to just let someone else do it. Okay.
Jitu, do you think they're content, or do you think they were beaten down into submission? Tell me what you think.
Well, I can believe that they were beaten down into submission by the conditions mm-hmm. that exist in the greater society. Mm-hmm. We are in the throes of a tremendous economic crisis. Mm-hmm. People are mainly concerned about how they're going to produce their daily bread. Mm-hmm. They're mainly concerned with how they're going to put food on the table, how they're going to keep a roof over their head. We just had a tremendous crisis around the foreclosure of housing. Many people have lost their housing. So amidst all of the tragic circumstances that the greater public has faced, and we know that if the greater public faced it, we know that we as a people, African American people, that it hit us harder than it did most others. And so we're in a very tragic situation.
So getting upset about the schools mm-hmm. seems almost like a little thing next to I don't have a job and I don't have a home, and the rents, by the way, were just increased, yes.
Yes, and the subway fare, I heard a woman talking on the bus this morning. She was saying how the subway fare is going up as of the beginning of July. And so there are, things that are happening in people's lives, I guess, that make what's going on in the schools sort of small potatoes. But still, I feel that this is not small potatoes. This is long term. This is going to have a devastating impact on our community.